All right, everybody, welcome to Brighter. So the main topic for today is Tesla's factory advantage. There's rumors now that there's a real potential that a structure at Giga Texas that could be used for Dojo operations. This is their supercomputer that might be then sold as a service, much like Amazon does with AWS. Now, we're also going to show you videos of a research firm who believes that Tesla's factories are 20 years ahead. Yes, 20 years. And believe it or not, Tesla's now advertising in Japan, of all places. And finally, a big move by Tesla, now offering wraps for the Model 3 and Model Y. Today we have Brian White joining us. Brian has his own YouTube channel called MyTeslaWeekend. He's incredibly very, very smart. And if you go check out his channel, you're going to see so many videos that he does specifically about the factories. We're going to dive deep inside and outside and talk about all the different advantages. Welcome, Brian.
Thanks, Herbert. Great as always. Let's get into it.
We should. All right. So we've got this rumor that a number of folks are talking about. This wasn't just this one news article, but they're talking about this potential that this new structure at Giga Texas is possibly going to house Dojo supercomputer operations. And of course, they said that the validity of the claims is not yet clear. Do you think Tesla's building a data center for Dojo at Giga Texas? And some people are saying that it might actually make sense because you don't want to have a supercomputer only in one location in California. You'd like to have a kind of redundant area as well in a separate state. And it says a new bunker-like structure has apparently appeared at Tesla's Giga Texas. Two people familiar with the plans told the information. The claim comes just months after Tesla entered Dojo production. As the company continues to accelerate plans for the computing cluster, we know that they're building it out quite fast and furious. Their supercomputer, and now 3 supercomputers actually. And Joe Tegmeyer, who's been on this channel a few times, and he regularly observes Giga Texas. He does drones, he does videos, and he told Tesla Variety that he's not familiar with any permits or plans to build a Dojo center at the facility. You would know. And he's also pointed to continued construction on the 4680 battery cell production in that area. We'll take a video of what he said, but he actually thinks that it's the 4680 battery cell, not Dojo necessarily. And he's not seen any related server or computer storage equipment at the site. So let me go ahead and play the video. Then you can kind of speak to it and tell me what you're seeing here.
The side of the cathode machine section, we can see a truck bringing concrete panels and other concrete panels being installed to fill out this, what used to be that large opening. And that's where those 3 7-story tall platforms and equipment were moved.
Okay, I'm going to pause Joe there and let the video run. Tell me what we're looking at here, Brian.
Sure. So these are the only bunker-like structures that are at the site. This is the cathode building, and next to it there is a building that's only described as the die shop. You can see there's equipment in there that is inconsistent with a data center. You wouldn't need pneumatic mixers for a data center, and you wouldn't need to build it in a bunker-like fashion. This is a manufacturing building, and you know, because the style of construction is extremely heavy duty. Data centers don't look like this. It does have evaporators outside, but those are not the kind that you would use to cool a data center. And the other building there, the die shop, we're not sure what it's for, but again, it just doesn't make sense as a data center. So while a data center could be located at Texas, these wouldn't be it. And I'm not sure that you would necessarily be excited about putting a data center at a place with so much active construction and plans for continued active construction for years. The equipment's delicate. I think this is the rumor mill getting ahead of itself. And we see that a lot where there'll be one source for a rumor, and then it becomes a Reddit post, which becomes a tweet, which becomes a different article, and then an article summarizing the articles, and then 3 videos. And pretty soon it's out of control. And I think that's what we're looking at here. It would absolutely make sense to co-locate the AI processing resources, distribute them across the country, have different ones capable of working together and separately. But I don't see a reason that they would necessarily build it here. And I definitely don't see anything that indicates any of these buildings aren't already spoken for in terms of their actual use.
Well, that's sad, Brian. I was hoping you're going to tell me that
sad.
it's true. That's okay.
and Joe Tetmeyer would know better than anyone, because he not
He would
only is
know.
he out there 3 times a week, but he
Yeah.
goes down to the permit office and pulls the permits. When you see a new permit out of Texas, it's almost always Joe that went and found it, or someone
Yeah.
that told Joe it was there. So he knows, and he's so personable. He's such a great guy that I'm sure the people at the permit office know him and like him.
Yeah, I've done a video interviewing Joe on this channel, and he went through all the different Giga factories like you do. You know it almost as well as he does, but he goes there every 2 days. It's crazy, and he does videos. And so check out his YouTube channel as well. He's a great follow. So the reason why it might be interesting that that they're going to expand their dojo kind of facilities is because they are absolutely growing their supercomputer capabilities, and they keep announcing newer and newer kind of purchases. And so here's a report that last month they increased their order for the D1
Yeah.
Dojo chips from TSMC. They doubled this order. Even this one, it might have actually already been kind of previously set up, but they're totaling now 10,000 units. And then even Morgan Stanley came out with their own new report again about 3 weeks ago. And they said that, they really now are believers that Dojo could add to Tesla's enterprise value to around $500 billion. It's going to be this new software as a service, much like AWS is, and that it's going to not only do FSD, but they're going to sell it to employers. And then another article, like you were saying, just some articles came sprouting out based on this. And there's, this idea that Elon Musk and Tesla is going to compete with Jeff Bezos, Amazon's AWS. This comment here that this is from Elon Musk. He was quoted him saying this in Investors Day in April. He said, Dojo has the potential to become a sellable service that we would offer to other companies in the same way that Amazon Web Services offers web services, even though it started out as a bookstore. So I really think that, yes, the Dojo potential is very significant. What do you think, Brian?
100%. The thing is, with AI, it's so new that it's really hard to tell who's going to be the winners and losers in this race. Obviously, NVIDIA will do well. As with any gold rush, the guy selling picks and shovels makes the most money. And that's what NVIDIA does, is they've got the picks and shovels. But they're not the only ones with picks and shovels. It'll be interesting to see how Dojo actually competes in terms of compute effectiveness. And that's something that's very challenging to wrap your head around for even people in the industry, because we can't always see what they see internally in terms of efficacy and, how it all works together, how it all fits. And so it's going to be, it'll be exciting to see. And I don't know that... let's say FSD is solved today, then what do you do with all that compute? Well, you add another 9 and another 9, and then you dedicate it to new tasks. Then you dedicate it to solving bot problems. Then you dedicate it to solving traffic problems, there's a million, the applications are endless, and most of them probably haven't even been thought of yet, because we're so busy with things that we do understand. It's not yet time to think about the things that we don't.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com. So I interviewed Brian Wang very recently, and he did this full analysis, which is very interesting. He said that even if Tesla does not get into robotaxi, you don't get regulatory approvals, you don't sell robotaxi, service revenues, but you just sell full self-driving as a software to your own customers, because it gets so good and you're not yet getting regulatory approval. The revenue that you're going to get, he calculated this based on 50% uptake, is $80 billion per year. And that amount is the same amount that Amazon is getting for their AWS service. And we all know that Amazon stock went 4 times. It grew. They attribute 4 times growth because of AWS being such a high margin. But the funny thing is that FSD is 4 times more profitable than AWS is to Amazon. So the idea that even if you don't get robotaxi, it's going to be tremendous impact. Yeah.
Because with AWS, you need to always be adding more hardware, always be adding, you've got to have all the techs, you've got to pay for the electricity. Yeah. And with FSD, once it's out, all you need to do is over-the-air updates, add a few little tweaks here and there, and that's the margin is nearly all of it.
It's all of it. And so the good news is that investment analysts and investors are finally waking up. The Tesla's an AI company. So this is Morgan Stanley that I mentioned. They actually raised their 12-month price target by 60% to $400 because they believe that Dojo, that's their big thing. They believe that Dojo as a service is going to be a thing. So this is Adam Jonas, and he said that it's not only going to speed up the robo-taxi efforts, but it's going to be a sellable software services, and it could add $600 billion to the value of the company. And this is excellent, this part right here. If Dojo can help make cars see and react, what other markets could it open up? Think of any device, as long as it has a camera, and you want it to make real-time decisions, right? Be able to learn on the fly, to be able to decide what to do. Like I remember once having a discussion with James Dalma. He was telling me, this was a year ago, and he said, wouldn't it be great if you had a camera pointing at your swimming pool, but it needs to be smart enough to know if there's a problem. It's if a child falls in and they're struggling to swim versus a child swimming versus, some other thing. It needs to be able to warn you. It needs to be able to say, do something, but you need that intelligence, So this is how you do it. But any final
That would
thoughts
be
on
wild. Well, yeah, and for that matter, even a deer falls into your pool, a bear falls into your pool. It would be great if it could relay that to emergency services to say, this might be an animal control issue, but there's a deer stuck in a pool. It'd be great to not come home to that.
Okay, so let's continue the conversation about Tesla's main advantage, which is the factory, which you know quite a bit about. I wanted to show this great video that Ray Wang did. He is the CEO of Constellation Research, which is a research firm that does disruptive business and long-term trends. And one of the quotes he says is that Tesla's factories are at least 20 years ahead. Let me play this, and then I'd love to get your feedback on what you think. How far ahead is Tesla, not only to legacy, but also to the Chinese factories and other factories in general?
Is non-union. Are they the big winner because the union is striking Ford, GM, and Stellantis? So does Tesla win this one?
Stuart, Tesla won before the strike, during the strike, and they're going to win after the strike. And here's why. Tesla's running at $45 an hour. UAW rates are at $66 an hour. They're asking for $132 an hour. That's a difference in labor costs that's so huge that they're never going to be able to catch up. And when you move into this EV transition, you get the vertically integrated market. Tesla's in automation already and already put most of their jobs in automation, and their factories are at least 20 years ahead of the UAWs and the big three.
Okay, so a lot of people say that was a throwaway line, at least 20 years ahead of the UAW and the big three, but he's a research firm. This guy does this. So it's like, was that just a throwaway line? I mean, most people are telling me that they think that Tesla's factories are a generation ahead, which is defined as 5 to 7 years. What's your opinion?
So 5 to 7 years feels a lot more correct. 20 years is an impossible horizon to predict. But what we can see is if you go back and look at the rate of change from the legacy factories, it is glacial. They make very small, very incremental improvements where Tesla says, look, we've got this new system and it's amazing. You know what we should do? Throw it out for something better. And that's where it's the same philosophy that you had with their thermal management system. They've got the Octavalve. It's this amazing new way of managing your heat. And Sandy Munro looked at it and said, I can't believe it. There's nothing like this, and there never has been. And a year later, he's tearing apart the Model Y, and the Octavalve is gone. It's been replaced with the Super Bottle was the first one. It's been replaced with the Octavalve. And they're never content with awfully good and awfully new when there's something that we can do that's even better. And that's where Tesla's factories are at. They're already so space efficient, so time efficient, so capital efficient, and yet they're saying, boy, I bet we could do it 5 times better. So 20 years ahead, we don't know because those other guys will first have to start making that change. If you look at the way they benchmark, the legacy guys benchmark cars, they're still trying to build the Model Y, and Tesla's so past that. The Cybertruck is a whole new revolution. The compact with the unbox method is a whole new revolution. And now, this year and into next year, we're going to finally see cars that are in competition with the Model Y, and that's I mean, that's old news.
Yeah. One of the news we were just talking about recently is that Giga casting, right? So Tesla has implemented that in 2020, and they've been doing it now for 3-4 years. And then we've got word that Toyota said, they just verbally said they've got a Giga casting machine and they've been playing with it for a year, but their first car won't come out till 2026. And then,
so I talked with Sandy Monroe real quick. I talked with Sandy Monroe over a year ago, and I said, what aspects of Tesla will we see copied? And he said Giga castings. I can't tell you who, but I can tell you there are companies in the US and throughout Asia who have already ordered these machines. And this is a year ago. So the new guy who does the crazy thing, all of a sudden everyone starts copying. It's like getting rid of the headphone jack all over again. You make fun of us, and then you realize, no, we were right all along.
Yeah, several months ago, there was reports of Giga casting machines from IDRA being delivered. We've now got confirmation that it was delivered to Huawei, which is a Chinese company called Ito. And then it's also Volvo, Geely, Polestar. That company also has one as well. But it's going to still take several years for them to put it in a factory, to create those production lines. And then now they're moved on to the unboxed model. So yeah, they've got a huge advantage in the factories. I know that you follow the inside so well. So I was curious, automation. I just don't see, definitely not the legacy, but who else? Who else could do this? We know that CEO... Let me just finish this. The CEO of BYD was on record, and he just said, again, 6 months ago, he said that we are so far behind in automation. They have 660,000 employees, and he knows that they've not done any automation yet at this point. So even though BYD is a low-cost provider because they make their own batteries, they're actually not, it's shocking how this will turn out because they're just not yet automated in the factories. Go ahead.
So Ray brought up a great thing in that video. He was saying Tesla owns their automation. Tesla bought, Grauman or a number of different firms. They bought Maxwell but they bought the company that makes the robots that do the automation in the factories. And that's not just because we don't want to pay that 10 or 20 or 50% markup. It's because we've got very specific things that we need, and we need them tweaked, and going back and forth with a vendor is a hassle. So Tesla's able to get the robots exactly the way they need them, while others are stuck going back and forth and trying to convince a company that's trying to make a product with broader appeal to make something that's specific to your use case. And if you find a good example is Rivian's AC inverter used to be the size of a Igloo cooler. It was huge. And it's because that inverter needed to be the right tool for 10 different companies, 20 different applications. And when they went to making their own inverter, they could get something that was purpose-built that does just what we need it to and nothing more. And now it's, bigger than a lunchbox, but just barely. And that's going to be the same thing with every part of the car, every part of the process, every procedure. We don't need robots that can do 900 different things if the robot only needs to do one thing and do it extremely well. Oh, and also it's a thing it's never done before, which is sometimes what we see with Tesla. So the idea that they're 20 years ahead is not crazy. So who comes next? Well, BYD's the obvious choice. They're ripe for it. They know that they're too labor heavy. They know that they've got the tech if they just lean into it appropriately. So hopefully that's what they're working on, because otherwise, I'm just not sure they're going to get there. So who can automate as good as them? I wouldn't count out the Japanese. They've got very high labor costs and very good technology. But it's a whole thing. It's got so many moving pieces. It's not just, like you were saying, it's not just buy a Giga casting machine and make large castings. You have to design the car around it. You have to design the factory around it. You've got to get the right amounts of natural gas to the site to heat the furnaces, to do whatever. And every part of that has to work. And automation is no different. If you've got too many pieces that need to come together at the exact same time, if you goof up one or two of them, the whole thing grinds to a halt. So yeah, it's going to be very tough and interesting to see who comes out ahead.
So Brian, we've heard Elon say that the factory is the product. There's some people, including me, that have been saying that could Tesla start selling the factory design or even factory outsource of how to build it and overseeing it? People are going, no, it's no way, because they're just so busy. What's your opinion on that?
So uniquely, Tesla is a general contractor. They build their own buildings. That's unusual. Could they farm it out? Yes, they could. I don't think now is the time. I do think they are too busy. I think if they had the capacity to offer it out, they would first start expanding their own operations. We know mega factories are coming. We know the compact model in at least one, but probably 2 or 3 locations is coming. I think even just expanding in Nevada for semi-production, I think right now is definitely out of the question. But even 2 or 3 years from now, I think the biggest obstacle isn't the cost, because the cost would be evidently the best in the industry. I think the biggest problem is stubbornness on the parts of the legacy guys, and that's unfortunate for them. But I could see someone like Rivian coming along and saying, please build my factory. Your goal, your mission is to advance the sustainable energy future. We are part of that. We will give you money, build us a factory. And I could see any number of the smaller players hiring Tesla to build a factory for them.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Brian. Let's talk to some fun news that came out last night. People are very excited about this, which is the wraps. Tesla is now offering wraps for the Model 3 and Model Y, which very much indicates that they're probably going to offer this for the Cybertruck. And so they just announced this last night, starting at $7,500. Sawyer says 6. There's actually 7. The black is at $7,500. The gray is at $7,500. Then you got the blue, the rose gold, the green,
Advance
the
your
white,
slide.
and the red. Thank you. Thank you for that. So if you take a look at that, the blue, the green, the gold, and Tesla Economics created this wonderful just slide that I can show. Here's the different colors. Tell me about these wraps. I've heard that they are not just a regular wrap. They can actually be like a PPF where they protect the paint. And then they also will go into the side door sills and take out the doors and put it on properly. So this is a real deal. Tell me about the price. Tell me about, people kept telling me that there's no way that the Tesla will offer wraps because it's just too much labor intensive, too much time. They don't want to just do this at all. What was your thinking about this?
So my belief was that they wouldn't do it because wraps are fickle and can peel. And if you don't maintain them properly, you can have issues. And a manufacturer doesn't want to deal with the warranty on an issue like that. And then when this was published, a lot of people said, 8,000, you're insane. 7-8 grand. No one's paying that. I can wrap my car for $2,000. No, you can't. That's too low of a price. For something like these, the film alone could cost $1,000. And like you were saying, the labor is the big issue. But considering they're only going to be wrapping the 3 and Y, it sounds like, your job is not to know how to wrap every car on the road. It's to know how to wrap the hood of a Model 3 or Y. It's to know how to wrap just the fender. Because if you swarm it and put a different specialist on each section of the car, you're going to get them moving so fast it's insane compared to any other car. Because there's a whole lot of trial and error figuring out a new car for the first time. And even if you've done one car 5 times before, if you haven't done it recently, that experience isn't quite as helpful as if you just finished one before lunch. So the price is not crazy in the market. It's not the lowest price. It's also not the highest price. They look fantastic. The fact that they wrap into the door sills, if you get anything other than clear, is labor intensive and beautiful. So I think these are going, and the margin is going to be well north of 20%, of course. So these are going to be a nice fat add-on to the bottom line. And a number of people were saying, I saw a gentleman say, well, I thought the whole goal was to drive the price down, not up. There are different buyers. Some people are not as price sensitive. They'll be more inclined to get a wrap than the person who's just counting every penny to see if they can make it work.
Okay, thank you. So I was going to ask you about the margins. Thank you for that. So that's just a little bit more detail of what you already said. That Tesla says the wrap installation, it's going to take 5 to 7 business days, which isn't terrible. From that's the time you drop off your vehicle. There's not going to give you a loaner vehicle. So it sounds like it's only going to be done after you've received, delivery. And then for all the color wraps, the installation will include the jams, which we already talked about, except for the clear wraps. And then right now, this is what they're offering right now. It must be a 2023 Model 3 or a Model Y. And this guy, Taylor, works at Tesla digital department, I believe. And he says that, wraps are now available at select service centers in Greater LA and San Diego County. And we hope to expand to more locations and models soon. So very clearly, pretty obvious, they're going to do this for the Cybertruck. But something that people don't know yet is actually, I think you told me this a long time ago. I remember that you said that Tesla China is already offering the wraps for these cars since 2020. So they've got tremendous amount of experience about this anyway. So any last comments about the wraps?
Well, we were we were expecting to see them show up on the drone footage, and they didn't because they're not done on site at the factory. So when we first saw that announcement, we just poured over the footage looking for anything that was a different color and didn't find it. News doesn't get out of China as easily because they use different social media than we do, so we don't see as much of it. It's not a problem there, but it appears that everything is working fine. I will add that in terms of expanding nationwide, at least with the wraps, there have been murmurs from people at service centers for months that this was coming, and they were, shared on background, not directly. But the good news there is that it will be coming out wide. I know coast to coast for sure. And the other good news is that these sources that have been feeding me these rumors are proving correct, which gives additional credibility to other rumors that we may hear.
Wonderful. Last bit of news here is that Tesla's actually advertising, and of course, where they're doing it, why are they doing it? It's in Japan. So let's take a look at what this looks like. It's a Japan airport, and I'm going to turn it down here. It's a Japan airport, and it basically looks fantastic. It's just a normal ad that you can see how to use it, the superchargers, and so forth. It's right there in the airport. So quick comments there, Brian. Why are they doing it here in Japan? I think it's just probably for brand awareness. It's got the lowest adoption of electric vehicles, but they're doing it. And why an airport?
Well, an airport because it's upscale buyers, and cars in Japan are expensive. And depending where you live, you may not even need a car. So these are, it might as well start with the top. Start with the people who have disposable income and work down from there. And if you're going to start with narrow targeted ads, what better place than an airport or just, any specific target? So I think it'll be easy to measure if it works. That's the big thing, is we don't want these big broad branding campaigns that can't have any impact. It'll be great to actually be able to measure the results and know if it's working, so you know whether or not to roll it out further and by how much.
All right. Thank you so much, Brian. Appreciate you. Follow him on YouTube at MyTeslaWeekend. I'll pin here a video of Brian Wang talking about how the Tesla's robotaxi, or not robotaxi, but FSD is equivalent to Amazon's AWS. Thanks, everybody. Bye.